Hey everybody, welcome to Overdose and Chill, episode 103 on this Wednesday in August. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Jo Mackie of Asset Factory today. Jo is wicked. I've had a few chats with Jo and also had the pleasure of visiting the Asset Factory studio a couple of weeks ago, which is just mind-blowing to be honest. So we want to give you guys a bit of a sense of what that's all about, what the machines are, super exciting business and just really fascinating space when it comes to automation and e-commerce. My background is, so I'm Sam, Chief Marketing Officer at Overdose. My world is advertising and marketing automation. So I think there's going to be hopefully a really interesting chat today about kind of how our worlds are colliding and the kinds of stuff that we're up to and the stuff that we're seeing in e-commerce and kind of how all that fits together, which is the fascinating part for me about e-com. So Jo, welcome to the chill. Lovely to see you. Do you want to just introduce yourself and maybe just give us a bit of background on Asset Factory?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for inviting me along today, Sam. So as Sam said, I'm Jo. I'm the operations director at Asset Factory. So we actually have kind of a little bit of a history with Overdose in that we started out about the same time as Todd and Ryan were building the business. So we've had a nice long partnership with them and mutual customers as well. I mean, obviously, all clients in New Zealand, it's 2 degrees of separation. So way back when Overdose were starting out, my business partner, Andy, and I we could see the growth in e-com in overseas markets and also the need to have a lot of content to facilitate that growth, to be able to provide content consistently and efficiently. And we could also see that the traditional ways that retailers were capturing content, it was taking them, days, sometimes weeks to get content. And through Andy's consulting with a large fashion retailer in New Zealand, he was sort of looking at ways of improving the e-com experience, particularly from a content creation point of view. And through that, we discovered the Style Shoots automated photography machines. So Style Shoots are world leaders in automated photography. Around that time, Style Shoots were looking for an Australasian distributor. So we took that over in 2014. So Sam, I guess the origins of Asset Factory start with that first business where we set up a showroom in our Auckland premises now. So we also sell the machines to big box retailers who need to create content quickly and efficiently, consistently, who have thousands of SKUs. So they look to purchase through us and have the machines in their own internal photography studios.
Yeah,
so over time, the smaller brands around us in Auckland sort of heard about the technology and were like, hey, we don't have many SKUs, or we have X amount of SKUs. We don't need to purchase a machine, but could we just come and jump on the machine for an hour? We need to create some content. And so over time, we realized that there was a service model that we could provide to our local brands, and that they had the same pain points and needs as a big retailer. So through that, Asset Factory evolved in 2016. And at that time, I was looking for a new career choice. And so I came on board to run Asset Factory, to grow it, to educate our local brands on the importance of e-commerce, tips and tricks, what small brands needed to think about for e-com through to larger brands.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, it's great that kind of the service supports businesses at both ends of the spectrum, I guess, in terms of startups who just don't have the resources and the kind of expertise to do the shoots, right through to massive brands that just have so much need for kind of constant content photography. Having kind of been there and done the tour, I think the thing that struck me is just how simple the technology is to operate from the tablet. It felt like my kind of 6-year-old daughter would just come in and kind of put stuff together and send it to herself. And that's probably not even oversimplifying it. It is that easy to sort of understand and manipulate things and do the shoots.
Yes.
So I guess it's just so accessible to kind of the everyday brand to come in and use the tech and kind of get what they need.
Yeah, absolutely. The Style Shoots machines are made in the Netherlands, and the premise of the design of the machines was to give brands control on their content creation. So it always blows me away. The machines are so clever, but part of that is that they're so easy to use. So as you saw, they're all iPad operated. The app is just so intuitive to use. So we give people sort of 10 minutes training, depending on the machine that they're using, to show them how to create that content, and obviously support them during a shoot, and then they're away capturing content. So that really resonated with us because it kind of reduced the barrier to creating content as well, in the sense that they might look a little bit intimidating. But they're actually super easy to use. A stylist can jump on and use them, a brand manager, an e-com manager, the smaller owner operator who's doing everything, can jump on and create some content.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just another example of, the barriers to entry of kind of e-com and starting up a brand, lowering, things like logistics are getting much easier, global shipping, from kind of my world, advertising and marketing is getting much more kind of automated and, as self-service as you want it to be. So I guess kind of all of those things just make it easier to start up a brand, kind of get good quality photography and videography and, make that work really hard from a marketing point of view. And I want to kind of jump into the kind of automation stuff a bit later on in the conversation, because that's where I'm really interested. But we can catch a bit of a glimpse of the machine behind you. So you've got, I think, 4 or 5 machines in the studio.
Yes, I'll go this way. Yes, so there's 4 machines in the Style Shoot suite. So the machine that you use is dependent on the product that you have to photograph and the output that you need. So this machine behind me is the Style Shoots Eclipse machine. It's an amazing machine. It's designed for small product, anything within 45 centimetre cubed, weighing up to 15 kg. So it looks very futuristic, and it sounds futuristic too when it's in use. So the premise of this machine is that you can shoot product stills and video. Style Shoots work very closely with Canon and have actually been recently purchased by Profoto. So the lights, the equipment is all high spec. In this machine, there's a turntable where you can place the product, the camera, so the zoom, the tilt, and the lighting is all operated via the iPad. So we can set up file framings for brands. Let's say it's a shoe brand who might need 6 or 7 profiles. We can go in and lock that all in via the iPad, lock in the settings, and that means from shoot to shoot, when they come in with another SKU drop, they can bring up their settings and run through the different profiles, and then switch very easily to video content. So as you would have noticed when you came into the studio, Sam, all of the machines use constant light. So what that means is when we're switching from stills to video, we don't need to change the light setup. Everything is at a touch of a button. So this machine is incredible in creating product video. There's templated videos where you take multi-clips, so you can take 3 little video clips and the machine will stitch them all together.
Yeah, it's incredible. As you say, it's that kind of stitching together and the kind of production that happens inside that machine and the software that's, probably even more impressive than the photography itself, because the outputs are, everything that you need that's basically ready to go and ready to use, which is obviously pretty incredible. Just before I continue as well, obviously we are live. We've got the opportunity for anyone that's listening in to ask any questions. So hopefully you should see a box for that one way or another. Next to us, feel free to drop some questions in there and they should magically pop up on the screen. We'd love to hear from any merchants out there that are curious about the technology, or anyone that's got any questions on this world. Love to hear from you. So we talked a little bit about kind of the output. So I just explained a bit about, so there's obviously an export of all the images to the client that's using it, but there's also you're kind of looking at merchandising, visual merchandising software as well as a bit of a use case for this stuff. So maybe just kind of talk us through, how new that is, kind of what the use case is for that type of technology.
Yes, yeah. So I guess from our business perspective, when we look at e-com, it will be the same for you guys, is that we're looking to increase online conversion through e-com, and also drive people into stores, which is, a metric that perhaps retailers can't measure, but a lot of people are doing, including myself, doing research online, and then going into the store and trying something on. You're already in that purchasing phase when you get there. Style Shoots, interestingly enough, was developed to create assets for visual merchandising. So we have recently partnered with IWD, who are world leaders in visual merchandising software, to take the assets created from the machine, or actually assets created from traditional photography as well, and then use those assets to create virtual stores. So you can build planograms with the software, you can build your fixtures to the size requirements, so shelf width and height and depth. You have rules around those fixtures, so when the VM team is building a planogram, you can place product on the fixtures. If you have too many products, there'll be a little red flag to say you can't have X amount of, let's say it's a beauty product, of bottles on the shelf, and then you can set those guidelines and share those guidelines with your team in the field as well. So it's really, I guess for us, it's about creating a great experience in your e-com store, and then a seamless experience when you go into store as well. And we've seen, a really big push with retailers getting people back into store. Consumers want to do that at the moment. So it's having that seamless approach of whatever channel a consumer is touching with a brand, that they have that same experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Throughout. Yeah.
Lots of synergies with our kind of marketing, I guess, work as well, in terms of, obviously the last couple of years we had a massive shift to online shopping, and people didn't have the opportunity to go in and try stuff on. So we focused really heavily on kind of that online experience. But now that shops are open again, I guess kind of brands are now more aware of the connection between that sort of digital and physical world, and trying to make that as seamless and on brand as possible. So giving their customer as much information about what's in stock at their local store, helping them get to that store, driving store visits, as you say, and then when they get there, I guess kind of you're helping brands make sure that everything is as expected, and it kind of feels like that experience that they've had in the online shop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's sort of a couple of points to talk to that. With your e-com imagery as a starting point, you do need to bridge the gap from the touch and feel of a physical store. So you need to make sure that you have the right kind of content assets, that you can give the consumer as much information as they need to either purchase online or to go into store. And then it's about using those assets to create that user experience in store as well. We're seeing a lot of having that as, people having their hero stores as a destination store. And what we've seen with the VM software, and talking to a lot of VM teams, is that, generally they are small teams. They're using different software to create stories in store and guidelines, like it can be PowerPoint, Excel, InDesign, and typically they are visual people. So it's been very difficult for them to get that story across, get it into the field team in store, analyze, has the VM been executed correctly, and then get that feedback from the team. So we're really excited about our partnership with IWD. The software is amazing, and it's got great synergy with style shoots, and that it's so easy for a VM team to use, and cuts down their time in creating planograms and getting that out into the field.
Yeah, for sure. The topic is kind of an interesting one for me, because I think we're seeing also a lot of conversation about, AR and the metaverse, and people, no longer going out and kind of buying things. They're buying them virtually, and they're trying things on with their avatars, or kind of using technology to kind of see how it looks and feels. And obviously that's kind of never the same as going to a store to try it on. And it feels like consumers are still in that world where they want to touch things and feel things, which is where we're having to work with brands on that in-store experience. But maybe, do you have kind of, what does the roadmap for Asset Factory look like? Are you thinking about more of the kind of AI and AR stuff with the technology? At the moment, I guess it's video and photography assets, but we're seeing some really interesting stuff. That we had an example pass through a couple of weeks ago of an online fashion retailer in Australia called Showpo, who have basically built technology to create any kind of model you would like to see try that fashion on. So they've basically built out the ability via Meta/Facebook to showcase that kind of item of clothing on any particular model that you want. So I guess the aim is to encourage more diversity in the models, and that is done by technology. But I'm curious as to kind of where you guys see the business going in the next sort of 5 to 10 years. I mean, I think that's a long way out to think about, but do you feel like those kinds of things will come into the technology and become more common in the way that you're doing the work?
Yeah. A really good question, and it's been on our radar. We were the first to market with automated photography machines back in 2014, which was really disruptive in the content creation space. And we can see how technology is evolving and how consumers want to view that technology, particularly from a purchasing aspect. So we're aware that that's happening. We're up for it. We love retail, we love brands, we love content creation, and we're really excited to see where that takes us. Style Shoots have partnered with a company in the Netherlands called Bright River, where you can take a ghost mannequin image on our vertical machine, and that can wrap around a model. So it's a faster way of creating content. And I think your point, talking to people, want to see diversity. They want to see different sizes, shapes, ages as well, particularly in fashion. I think that's really important. So we're hoping that, we're open-minded about that the technology will dovetail into that at some point in time as well.
Yeah, it sounds like it might be happening kind of in parts of the world. Are there any, I guess, markets or areas of the world that you think are kind of leading the way in terms of embracing that technology? It feels like Australia and New Zealand are, obviously there's a massive opportunity for you guys in terms of just that pure automation of the photo shoot, producing the assets. But from kind of where you sit, are there any parts of the world that are really, leaning into that kind of more virtual try-on experience?
I don't think I can answer that question, because I don't know if there's sort of regional differences there. I mean, in that sense, it's very consumer driven, isn't it? I think. And so I'm not sure. That's a really interesting question. It's also driven by the brands, how they want to present their product and how receptive they are to technology, listening to what their customers want to see, and how they want to purchase.
Which brings me on to another kind of another topic, which is, I guess, in my world, in our world of advertising and marketing, there's definitely a really kind of rapid acceleration into letting the machines do the optimization of the ads and the assets and the imagery and the content, which is a kind of a change of mindset, I guess, for us as marketers, to release control of actually doing some of the things that we've always done, and kind of letting the machine learning kind of do that job of optimizing all those assets. but I guess that comes with a bit of a acceptance that you can't always create everything by hand, and you can't kind of have that control over what the end result's going to look like. And we've had some challenges with, ad technology, producing videos that just look awful or kind of don't really kind of nail it from a brand perspective. And we have to work through that because we know that the automation brings efficiency, and it kind of automates, as you'd expect, all the heavy lifting involved, which your technology obviously does in terms of the kind of pure act of doing all the photography. So that part is awesome. But it's kind of at a point now where we have to figure out how we retain that level of like branding and kind of try and keep the control there, that everything feels like it's still marketing the product in the best way. And I guess presumably that's what kind of merchants are finding with you, is that because they've got less time required to do the actual photography themselves, they've got more time to think about, what's working and what's not working through sales and return rates. And they've got more time, hopefully, to kind of think about the business more holistically and kind of what they want the brand to look like and what they want the business to do. Is that kind of what you're feeling with your clients?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I think now, the need for content's so massive across so many different channels. So, and, there are some things that you can automate well. So we see that in the space of creating product imagery, whether that's fashion, FMCG, health and beauty, food. We see that as a transactional piece of content. So you need to have, be very explicit about profiles, as we were saying before, that you represent the product really well. So that sort of covers that transactional component, but then you do need to build brand. And that's where automation can't do that. You need to have that creativity. You need to have that input. And that's where I think, there's that crossover, like you're alluding to, Sam, of automation frees up time and budgets to create those assets. And then it's about, creating that beautiful aspirational imagery that you need to do with traditional means.
Yeah, definitely. And I also think there's a point in there about like just the sheer volume of assets you can create means that there is always going to be more opportunity for the machines to learn. So I think something we would always say in our world is that the more creative variations you have, the more chance you have to optimize, because you've got your whole suite of products that are available. You've got things like product data feeds that can just surface all of that information and imagery based on pricing or promotions or availability. And then you've got, I guess, kind of all the automation that comes off the back of that to make sure you're serving the right creative and the right products to the right person at the right time. So I think when you combine all of those things, I guess kind of any brand would say the more opportunity they have to showcase and, offer out all of their entire range is going to be beneficial, that they've just got that ability to sell everything at the right time and kind of and use data to make those decisions in what they're selling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. We had an interesting conversation yesterday, sorry, Jo, with Google about kind of moving forward on that automation front, that we're spending less time kind of having to do that job of finding the right ad that's going to work for the right viewer, and spending more time on actually using business information, like what's the margin on that product that you're advertising, and does it make more sense to serve that ad in this situation than a lower priced or a lower margin ad, and kind of trying to use business information to let the marketing work, which again I think is just another example of like the equipment and the machinery and the technology kind of helping brands, I guess, maximize revenue, minimize return rates, I guess in your case, and just kind of optimize their business, which is pretty crazy for a kind of a new startup fashion brand to kind of have that ability to do so much off the bat with their content and their marketing.
Yeah, and that's something that we love. We work with small startups, like I was saying before, that might have 5 SKUs up to large enterprise businesses in New Zealand. We're working with iconic brands like Swan Dry and Bend On, and Huffer, Canterbury. But the automation, because it's so agile, we can shoot. We don't have any minimums, so we can shoot 1 product or 5 products. So it means there's no barrier for creating content and creating video assets as well. Because everyone, e-com or digital commerce, it's a global stage for people. So, we always think a small brand should have the access and the right to champion their products equally as a larger brand as well.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully you've got a lot of kind of local Kiwi labels that are, using all of this technology. Yours are now included to kind of export and kind of go global, easier than they've ever been able to do before. Are you finding, so you've recently kind of branched out into Melbourne and the Australian market. Are you noticing, many differences between brands and attitudes and kind of requirements and styles between New Zealand and Australia from your kind of initial impressions?
It's early days for us, Sam. Like, we're so excited to say we officially opened our studio and showroom in Richmond and Melbourne last Monday. And so I guess I can't talk to specifics with customers using the studio. We do have great relationships with our end user customers in Australia. So Accent Group, Munro Shoes, Culture Kings has one of our machines, Billabong. So, we learn from them what their requirements are. And it does seem to be the same as over here. But I'm sure regionally, Australia is different, obviously, in size, and different regions in Australia have different requirements, particularly in the fashion space as well, which I'm sure will lead on to different content needs as well. So that's something I'm really looking forward to, is working with the brands there and getting an understanding of that.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. What's next? Beyond Melbourne, and Melbourne's only a week old for you, so you probably want to nail that first and make sure that sort of stands up and succeeds. But it sounds like you've just got such a great kind of business model to take to market, and no doubt you've got a lot of kind of interest from brands there already. We haven't experienced it before. Can I ask kind of what's on the roadmap for Asset Factory kind of beyond Melbourne? Do you have plans for other markets, or are you going to consolidate Australia and New Zealand and kind of make sure that that's humming?
Yes, yeah. Short answer is that we would. We, Andy and I, live in Auckland. We've got 2 teenage girls. We love New Zealand. We also love Australia, and with the synergies between both companies, and I think the growth in e-com, and there's a similar amount of SMEs here and in Australia doing amazing things. We're both risk takers. There's lots of creatives. I love the fact that we work with people who are working full time and then trying to launch a brand at midnight and on the weekends. So short term, yes, New Zealand and Australia, and we're thinking in parts of Australia it might be, rather than having a studio with the full 4 suites of the machines, it may be that some areas there'll be a studio hub with perhaps an Eclipse machine, depending on sort of the spread of brands and retailers and what their content needs are.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that struck me out, I'm kind of relatively new into the e-com space. My background is more kind of brand marketing, but the kind of e-commerce community and the just that kind of startup mindset and the hustle of these brand owners and businesses. It's really energizing, and I think kind of, again, going back to the kind of Overdose and Asset Factory relationship, it feels like there's just that alignment there of kind of, we want to be genuine, kind of be good partners to our clients and other technology companies in the space, and learn together and push the envelope. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about today is definitely kind of a converging of 2 worlds, but it feels like that's the kind of thing that just happens all the time. Are you kind of working more and more with other partners in the space? Obviously you've got your kind of visual merchandising solution at the moment. But what's your kind of, I guess, what does your interaction with other technology providers in e-commerce look like? And is that a conversation you're having regularly, or are you kind of focused on doing what
I
you
think
do?
we've recently onboarded with IWD for the visual merchandising software. And we've obviously got the style shoots technology as well. So, but we're always, looking for new and better ways of doing things, and connecting with like-minded brands like Overdose, or we like to be in sort of that educational space as well, and take learnings from what you guys are learning. We take a lot of learnings from the bigger brands overseas that have style shoots, so we can sort of see how retailers are working with them, what they're doing in the content creation space as well. So for now it's connecting, I think, with, like you say, authentic brands that love retail. They love great outcomes for their customers. Our success is real. We measure that in our customers' success, whether that's someone with 2 products or 200,000 products. And
I guess pretty inspiring as well to kind of ultimately know that what you're doing is for the benefit of, young New Zealand brands and designers, and kind of enabling them to, go to market easier, and take on the world, which makes it all, I imagine, kind of very motivating and energizing when you're dealing with a lot of these different businesses every day, and kind of building those relationships and seeing those businesses grow as well. It must be pretty inspiring for the team to see that as the output of what you do.
Absolutely. I think that's the best part of what I do. And I know I can speak widely for the team here. We love brands, and we love seeing how they evolve. Our studio is quite fun, and I mean, as you've seen, that we have 4 machines in 4 different zones, so we can have 4 different brands at any one time working on them, and we encourage people to connect and get to know each other. Most of the time they do. New Zealand's pretty small. But then it's, also finding out the brand stories. We've got one brand that we work with that's relatively new, and he was just mentioning that 25% of his sales, he's a pure e-com player, come from the States,
Right.
Which, that gives people confidence, and know that they've got that world stage to sell on. And I think that's fantastic.
Definitely, really inspiring. I think a lot of the conversations we love to have with our brands is, think beyond the New Zealand kind of border, and think beyond the boundaries of the market here, because as we've already covered many times, kind of the barriers to exporting and shipping and marketing in other markets are just lower than they've ever been. So we're talking to brands a lot about, like, what's the opportunity globally? Like, how do we use data to kind of figure out, actually, there might be an opportunity in the US or this European market, or Southeast Asia. We have all of the data that can help a brand kind of figure out, like, what does the opportunity look like, and where should they kind of focus their time and attention. So again, kind of it really opens up those opportunities for brands, which energizes us as well. And I should mention too, we're launching obviously our own merchandise label, so we'll have to hit you up for some time in this year once we do our second seasonal release.
That would be awesome.
Definitely limited edition at this point, and we have Todd as our official logistics and shipping director as well. So it's all hands to the pump for the launch of Overdose merchandise. But watch this space.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any advice for, I guess, kind of brands that you're encountering in terms of how to start out with you, or I guess kind of how does that work in terms of, like, a brand new merchant that's coming to you and kind of needs stuff done? Is that kind of something that you can offer advice to people that are new to that space, and how to kind of get the best out of that first experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we offer advice to a lot of the brands that we work with, and even the bigger brands that we've sort of progressed, to using video content, particularly in the fashion space. I mean, as you would know, your transactions increase. Video can't lie. So, we're really encouraging brands, big and small, to use video. So, as I said, there's no barrier to our service. We just get people ringing up or emailing, say, hey, I've got 5 products. Well, I'm always talking about 5 products. It can be more than that, and I'm about to launch a online store. What kind of assets should I need? We sort of look at what we consider as the gold standard with regards to, the number of profiles, what you need to be showcasing. Is there anything particular and a point of difference in your product? And then we offer 2 services. The DIY, so if someone's on a bit of a budget, that's the most cost-effective service that they can come in and use the machines, or our drop and run service, where people will just drop stuff into us with a styling brief, or sometimes they'll say, we'll leave it up to you guys, you know what you're doing, and we'll create the assets for them. So we just encourage people to reach out, even, and come into the studio. As you know, just popping in, like within 5 minutes, when you see the machines, you sort of understand the concept, what they can create, how quickly they can create.
Absolutely. I think we just might have you muted there, Jo. I'm not sure how that happened. Oh. You popped on mute, Jo. Hopefully people can hear me, but here we go. Raven's coming in to sort things out. I'll just talk amongst myself for a while. Look, I mean, if we don't get this sorted out, I feel like we've covered a lot of ground already. We could have this chat for hours longer, I feel, and kind of try and figure out how our worlds. Oh, I think you might be back, Jo.
Yeah, I think I'm back on.
Yep,
sorry about that.
Raven's giving us a double thumbs up.
Yeah, thanks, Raven.
IT support in the background. As I was saying, I think we've kind of it's just a fascinating kind of world to kind of chat and discuss, how all of this stuff comes together, and ultimately kind of how it helps, merchants be more successful, which I think is the really powerful thing for us. I thoroughly enjoyed my visit. I'd recommend anyone to go along and check it out, because it's pretty mind blowing. There's also a really cute dog in the office that runs around that you get to meet as well. But Jo and Andy are fantastic, and the team there is wonderful, and just a great example of a Kiwi success story, I think, which is what we like to celebrate. Overdose, there are so many parallels with kind of our age, the age of the business, the kind of trajectory that we've been on, but ultimately it's about the people that run the businesses that I think we love to chat on in these types of conversations. So it's been awesome to meet you, Jo, and the team there. We're looking forward to carrying on that relationship, whatever the future may hold in the world of automation and e-com. But we appreciate your time. Any closing remarks?
It's just been really great chatting to you and getting some insights from you as well. And I mean, obviously now we've got our Melbourne showroom and studio all set up. Feel free, anyone, if you're interested or intrigued by the technology here in Auckland or in Melbourne, to come in and meet us. Definitely. You have to see it to believe it and to kind of experience it. As I say, I'm pretty sure my 6-year-old could kind of figure it out in a couple of minutes. So it's pretty staggering, and just a sight to behold, and the output is amazing. So without kind of further ado, thank you, Jo, for your time today. It's been awesome to chat. We appreciate your partnership and your willingness to share knowledge with us, and hopefully everyone on the call enjoyed this today. Stay tuned for the next episode, whoever that might be. It won't be me, but it's been fun. So thanks, Jo, for your time. Thanks, Sam. Thanks,